Hey, everybody. That is Gary Smith. That is Kaz Kenny.
Kapow!
And I am Eddie Bramble. And this is episode 15 of the Blackwater's Edge podcast. Kaz, why don't you start us off with this week's fishing report?
Well, anybody's been watching the page, seen a little action come together this week. And let's keep in mind that this rain that's been falling all day has been 50 degrees, 58 degrees. So you got to think about warmer water is going to be trickling in from the top now. So, yeah, we saw it start to happen a little bit this week. You know, my friend Carl, he was out doing some fishing on Sunday, I think it was, and we were talking on the phone. We were talking about the yellow perch and how he had been doing and where he was at. He said he hadn't seen any, but he was going to keep trying. And lo and behold, he sent me a picture of a 13.5-inch yellow perch full row at 335. So, folks, maybe we do have a few that are going to show up here this year. You know, you never know. But we thought we'd see them by now, but maybe they're going to start coming in. So let's cross our fingers and hope that that's what's on the horizon for us. So anyway, Carl, we were talking. I said, you know what, Carl said, I might take a ride down the road and look at this little shallow spot that we both knew about. And lo and behold, he went down there, and sure enough, he connected. They were there, and they were feeding. So he kept what he wanted to keep, and he went home. And then the next day, Pappy went out on a little adventure, and same thing happened with him. He got into a mess of them, threw a few back, but I think he kept 12 or something like that, and they were some nice 12, fish. Yeah, so... I think that the snakeheads are going to start coming alive here over the next couple of weeks for sure. As long as we stay away from anything too drastically cold and too frigid, I think that we're going to be on the incline now of catching lots of snakeheads. As far as other fish go, I know there was a few catfish caught over at the Corsi I heard of, a few catfish out at Key Wallace. Didn't hear much on the snake scene at Key Wallace this week, but I have a feeling that you're going to see that open up pretty wide too. As far as talking with Justin, the net's pretty much been the same. Lots of snakeheads, some carp, some shad, a handful of bluegill, a handful of crappie, a handful of yellow perch, a few catfish. So that's what's going on over with the commercial guys. So just sit tight, folks. It's coming. Right now it's live bait. Let's get the snakehead destroyers out from the bait boys and get to work. Start filling the coolers. Let's get a jump on it for the 2020 season and get ahead. And yeah, man, let's do this. I'm ready.
Are you sure?
Yep.
I think if it gets any warmer, though, you can start with your swim baits and your chatter baits and things like that.
Well, off record, some of that was thrown this week, and it was connected on. So.
We're not off the record here.
Oh, okay.
So on this week's show, everybody, we've got Damien Cook from Lowland Outfitters.
Yeah,
how you doing today, Damien?
How you doing?
Good, man. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
All right, Damien Cook, owner of Lowland Outfitters. I grew up in Dorchester County. Grew up there fishing. Let's see, I moved away for work for quite a while, and I moved back and started hitting my old fishing holes, and all of a sudden I found a snakehead, and like, what is this thing? And that was 2018, as a matter of fact.
Not that long ago.
Not that long ago. Then I started researching, and I got obsessed with it. And I've always wanted to work for myself, and it kind of one thing led to another. I kind of decided to grab the go ahead with the guide thing.
So you're doing snakehead guides. So what kind of guiding are you doing for everybody?
Kayak guiding.
Okay. So how long were you gone? You said you moved away from Dorchester County. How long were you gone for, and what made you come back and everything? Give us that story real quick.
I was just following work. I was working out at Colonial Pipeline. Well, my company was working for Colonial Pipeline and was traveling around, and I got tired of it. I still work there, but I missed home.
Clarify that real quick.
Yeah. I miss being back home, so we found and bought a house in outside of Denton.
Good deal. So when did you move to Denton?
2.5, 3 years ago, I think.
Good.
What other kind of fishing do you like to do here besides snakeheads? We'll get into all that, but let's talk about a little bit like where you came from. Like what was the first kind of fish that you kind of like got attached to? Or was it just all fish like most anglers?
I started out with catfish over. Like I said, I was right down the road from Newbridge and Drawbridge, so I'd go there catfish and catch carp and stuff like that, and I had a ball.
Do you remember the day that you caught your first one? What do you remember about it? Anything?
Actually, no, I don't.
No. Some people don't because they didn't know what the hell they caught.
That's right.
So,
you remember your first snakehead?
I do remember my first snakehead. I was over at Drawbridge, and I was throwing little Mr. Twister. It's what I always threw there. I didn't know any better. So I was throwing a Mr. Twister, and I'm like, never seen that thing before.
So what were you fishing for that day when?
whatever bit.
Everything.
Typical fisherman. We don't care. So after you caught your first one, what kind of transpired in your brain? I mean, what were you thinking about?
Well, I did a little research on them. I found out they're supposed to be delicious, and if you can't tell, I like eating.
We know you like eating. We see your pictures all the time, so we know you like eating them snakeheads, and that's
Damien
good.
is a heavy contributor to the recipes
That's
page.
right.
If you don't know.
That's right. That's right.
So just tried to figure them out. It took a while, like the first couple months. I think I even contacted you a few times because I could not get into them, and it was driving me nuts.
I think one of the greatest stories here with you is I knew you when you started, and I think we got to know each other, and you started picking my head, and I think I've said it many times on this podcast. The coolest thing for me is watching the guys come in and figure it out. You know what I mean? Because I can tell you, and you know it too, Damien, because we talk to people. There's guys that come down here 6, 7, they're still coming and still haven't caught a fish since last year, So, the coolest thing is, we're watching these people grow. We're watching them learn. We're watching them pick it apart. We're watching them break it down, and we're watching them be successful. And I've seen that with you. So I just want to say, hey, man, it's been really cool to watch guys like you do what you're doing. And to see you step out the box and take a risk and roll the dice and say, hey, you know what? I like these fish a lot. I like catching. I'm going to go start me a guide service, and I'm going to see what happens. Brother, you're doing good. Just keep doing what you're doing, seriously. I mean, great job.
Thank you.
As far as clients you can take how many people a day with you on your tour, let's call it?
On kayaks, up to 3.
Up to 3. Okay, and most of the places that you're fishing are here in Dorchester County, correct? Yes. Okay, so basically what people will do is they'll reach out to you on your page, they'll send you a message, and they'll say, hey, Damien, I want to go fishing. What happens next after that?
Talk to them, see if they, like, how many people, what gear they need, stuff like that. And just
do you supply gear for your clients, or most of your clients bring their own tackle?
If they need it. I always do carry tackle with them
Good.
just in case they don't have what's needed for that day for the current conditions. And I also supply kayaks if they need it.
And you started guiding last year, correct?
Yes.
And I know that you work with Chris over there at Big Bass USA, so I know that the kayaks that you guys are using are definitely quality vessels. So I know that your clients are very safe in your hands. And it's like I said, it's really, really cool. So they contact you, they set the trip up. Is there anything else that you offer the client besides just the basic trip? Is there anything that you do? Like, do you provide any kind of, like, they want to go lunch or anything like that? Or is it just basically, hey, we're going to go fishing, we're going to have a good time, we're going to fill your core, you're going to go home, you're going to fill your belly?
So normally I bring snacks and drinks. I also I cut their fish up for them when we get back. If they want. The last trip I took out, they didn't want me to do it. They wanted to cut it themselves.
So do you offer kayaks as well, or do you require people to already have a kayak?
No, I offer kayaks.
You do?
Yeah.
So do you charge extra for offering a kayak, or is that included in the package?
That's included in the package.
Okay, good deal.
Is this an all-day trip, half-day trip? Or?
I have different prices for different, like full day or half day.
So why don't you, for everybody who's listening and wants to get in contact with you, why don't you give everybody a quick rundown of exactly what your price points are, what you offer for each price point. I mean, the whole 9 yards.
All right. So for a half day for one person, it's going to be $125. That includes tackle, rod, kayak, and all that. If you want to bring your own.
Good price.
Yeah.
For a full day for one person, it's $250. And pretty much all the packages are saying. And if you need the kayak, if you need the rods or anything like that, I have it. And 2 people for half a day is $200. For a full day is $400. And for 3 people, half a day is $275. And for a full day is $525.
Yeah, that's more than fair.
That's very good price.
Really
That's a good price.
How's the response been so far with you? I see you've been pretty busy. I see some of the gangs you're taking out, and I see you're being successful. So, I mean, you're staying pretty busy as far as bookings, and somebody wants to get with you. I mean, how early? Like, let's say I wanted to go in June. When's a good time for me to reach out to you to schedule a date?
Probably now.
And I said that for a reason, because we're seeing the same thing here on our end. It's going crazy. So
I think I have like 3 or 4 days left in May.
that's amazing, man. Great job. Oh, that is incredible. As far as the other fishing that you do, so the clients are going to catch snakeheads. What else are they going to catch when they go out with you for the day?
Well, I've seen them catch. Actually, one of the most interesting things. One of my clients, he's real excited. The rod's bending over and everything. I come over. I think it's gonna be a giant snakehead, It was a like a 5-pound catfish that had hit a chatterbait.
Oh, that's awesome. That's fantastic. What was it, blue cat?
That's still catch.
No, it was channel.
Channel cat? Wow, that's
That was a good catch.
That's right. I can tell you, I know for me, one of my favorite catches last year was I was throwing a frog in a ditch down on Hip-Proof Road. And, man, I couldn't see what was smacking it because it was kind of under the grass, but I knew every time I'd hit this one spot, man, it just, boom, opened up. I calmed down. Boom, there it was the 5th time I finally hooked it. I said, oh, my God, and I couldn't move it. So I get up to it, and what it was, a snapping turtle was dug in the side of the ditch and had his head sticking out into the ditch. And every time my frog came by and I stopped it, he tried to swipe at it. So when I got up to him, I couldn't even get the frog back. I had to actually set the rod down on the road, pray it didn't go in the water, went back to the truck, got me a pole to bust the mud around him so I could get him out of the mud to get my lure back, you know. So
I caught 3 in a pond last year, same way. It's amazing. They strike hard, too.
fast, too. Boom, boom, boom. You know, I could hear it. I was like, man, that sounds like a snakehead.
Turtles can be frustrating. But, you know, it's funny, but when I've seen bigger turtles around, I usually don't see snakeheads hanging around.
You're right.
They really push those. I don't know if they push them out or if they just don't get along or what the deal is, but turtles and snakeheads, it's kind of like carp and snakeheads. You don't usually find them in the same places.
So, Eddie, are you telling me that I need to get myself 6 or 7 10-pound snapping turtles and throw them in all the ponds I'll fish, and we might be able to do something?
I mean, you can try it. I'm not going to.
I'll try anything. Don't tell me that.
If a turtle will grab a buzzbait coming across the water, he certainly grabs a snake.
That's exactly right.
That's right.
So, Damien, you were actually in our tournaments last year, and you did fairly well, especially in the last tournament, the final tournament of the year. But you also were the winner of the largest or the heaviest fish of the year in that Calcutta. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that fish and how you caught it and everything? Tell us the whole story behind that fish.
All right, so I caught that fish on the Sunday. Let's start with the Saturday.
Yeah, it wasn't too good.
That was a rough weekend.
Yeah, so, and you don't mind me saying where I was at?
Yeah, that's entirely up to you.
Yeah, I was right off Maple Dam Road in the kayak. I never even went out to the big water, but I stayed in there all day. But
this is on Saturday.
Yeah,
okay.
and Sunday. So I was catching fish all day. I never went into the kayak until probably about 10 o'clock in the morning because I was catching fish from shore all morning.
Oh, wow.
So go out and I start getting into a little bit bigger fish. And it was probably, I don't know, maybe 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. I hooked into a huge one and I had him in a net. And I got myself a little kayak net and bad choice. I had this much head and tail sticking out each end of his net. So I'm sitting there trying to hold the net like over top of him so he doesn't get out. While I smack him on the head. I smack him on the head once and he goes whoop, and he comes unhooked. I'm like,
oh my God!
Jumps out of the net and comes unhooked all at one time.
Yeah, and and I'm 100 yards from shore. There's a guy on shore like, oh my God, that fish was huge. That's a damn shame. Yeah.
Yes, it really is a shame.
Right.
that was as a tournament fish there.
So come Sunday, I mean, I didn't get into as many fish on Sunday, but I caught bigger fish.
The
Sunday.
quality of bites were better, yeah.
Better net? Same net.
Huh?
Same net?
No, rockfish net.
Lesson learned.
So one big one did get away from me there, but the exact same spot that I lost that other big one, that's where that 12-pounder came out of.
That's awesome. So it was actually 12 and a half pounds.
And I hooked into him once and lost him, and I sat there. I anchored out.
Oh.
And I sat there until I caught him again.
That's fantastic.
It's pretty crazy, like sometimes, because like me and Cornflower, we were fishing over one day over at the top secret pier we have, and I had a jig head on with a minnow, and I had just broke off. About an hour and a half, 2 hours went by, and Cornflower hooked the fish. And when he got it in, you could see the line right there, and he goes, "Cass," I said, "I'll be god dong, it ate your jig head." I said, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Come here." I come over, and sure enough, there's a jig head up in its mouth. It was the same fish. It was the same lure I just tied. I knew it was in my hands 2 hours ago. So that's pretty amazing about them fish, too. Like, I've heard that story a lot of times, and I've done it myself, too, you know?
A lot of my bigger fish have gotten away from me, and I'll either sit there for a little while. If I don't get anything, I'll come back an hour later.
Right.
A lot of times they're still in that same spot.
Absolutely.
We were talking about something a little earlier about, like, sweet spots, we'll call them, you know? A lot of times, it's been my experience and several other guys that I talk to, you catch a snakehead off of a spot, and we'll call it like an ambush spot. You take one fish out the water there, and you give it 5 minutes, and you go back to it, and there's another one. And, I mean, for my experience, if I pull one off and I go right back, there's nothing there at that second. But if I seem to give it some time to die down, and then I throw it back in there, it almost appears that when one fish moves off that spot or we catch it off that spot, almost within 5 or 10 minutes, another fish, snakehead, moves right on that same exact spot, same position, same scenario. And you do that for 10, 15 times through your time fishing there, So, I mean, that's kind of crazy. I mean, we're learning that, I mean, that's some of the things that we're learning. Your experience, have you had opportunities like that where you're out there and you catch a fish off a log and you stay on that log for 3 or 4 hours, and before you know it, you've got 10 or 15 off that same log?
Yeah. I think it was probably, it was November. I sat right off a point and just kept pulling them in, and then it was probably every 15, 20 minutes I'd catch another one.
Let me ask you this, Damien. You fish here a lot. You grew up here. I mean, as far as the numbers and the explosion, do you see what we seem to see?
Yeah, I mean, I remember catching a lot more fish when I was a kid, like crappie and all that.
But so you think, from what you're seeing now, like I guess the question I'm asking you, as you've been snaking or fishing snakeheads, do you see the same thing that we see as far as the explosion, the increase in numbers? Let's talk about, because I know me and you see what's here. And, we have so many people say, no, that's not true. That's not true. You're making this up, blah, 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 blah. So the only reason that I ask guys like you when you're on the show about this is because you're here and you see it firsthand. So, and we're not making these stories up.
No.
I mean, literally, let's talk about 3 years ago, what fry balls look like and what this year looked like with fry balls in the water. I mean, the increase in numbers, I mean, do you see the same thing we're seeing in places we saw last year where there was, let's say, 20 fry balls? This year there was 100 fry balls.
I mean, there's some guts you go into and you're completely surrounded by them.
It's crazy. It's almost like the water's alive,
Yeah.
It's like moving like worms or maggots underneath the surface. I hate to use that as a comparison.
No, it's true, though. I mean, because, like you said, 2 years ago, you'd see 15, 20 fry balls in one spot, and you move into a spot now, and it's just, the water's boiling. It's just, everywhere you look, the water's just constantly like one big giant shadow.
And I just can't tell you how many times this year, especially over above Key Wallace up to Maple Dam, when you were out there paddling, wasn't it just crazy to look to your left, look to your right, and just see them as far as you could see them?
Yeah. And they're in water a lot of times that nothing else can be in because it's hot outside, and you're talking about 6, 8 inches of water.
There's areas I go into, you wouldn't see anything. Your wake go through, you turn around, you look, fire balls are coming out of the grass from where your wake disturbed them.
Yeah. When that tide's running, yeah, exactly. They're coming right back out there. But you're not just a snakehead fisherman. You're also an avid hunter as well. Yeah. So how'd your season go for that?
Pretty good. I got and thanks to Wayne Waters, I got a button buck with my longbow.
Good.
Out of Blackwater. And,
that's fantastic.
I got a real nice 8-point at my wife's parents' farm with during rifle.
I saw that. It was a nice high rack on that deer. That was a nice deer. Yeah.
You sick of deer hunt?
I try.
It's tough.
It is. It's a different type of hunting than what people are used to.
Yeah.
So you said you got your button off Blackwater?
Yep.
So what area were you in, if you don't mind?
I gotta remember. It was you.
You?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Longbow. That's something I always wanted to try. And I remember as a kid in the Boy Scouts, you didn't have you had a little red bow with a suction cup or whatever. You know what I mean? So yeah, I know that's a challenge. I talked to a lot of guys. There's a lot of guys that are in there with longbows trying to make it happen, and they tell me, man, it's tough, especially when you got to sit there and you got to hold that thing and hold that thing and hold that thing. I'm not much of I have a crossbow, but I'm not sure. But the let off, they're saying, you're holding so much weight and trying to wait, and then you get to a point where you have no choice, but you got to let it back down.
That's right.
So, what about other kinds of hunting? Do you do anything besides deer hunting? You use anything?
Actually, this past weekend I went rabbit hunting with the longbow.
With the longbow.
Yeah, those things are fast.
So I guess you weren't as successful with the longbow on the rabbits?
No, usually if you get lucky, one stops, but a lot of times they don't stop. They got the dogs right on them, and they don't stop.
That's pretty cool.
And do you do any other fishing besides snakehead or basically freshwater fishing? You saltwater fish at all?
every once in a while. It's not too often.
So before you caught your first snakehead, were you a big bass fisherman? Were you doing topwater fishing before those guys moved in here?
I would. Not a lot. I really didn't know what I was doing.
Right. You weren't like a major bass angler before you got into snakehead fishing.
No.
And that's important to note, because a lot of these guys that are just starting out, I mean, especially in this area where you didn't really have that topwater fishing before. A lot of guys are scared to try snakeheads because they don't know how to topwater fish. They've never gotten into it. They've always been into the perch and the crappie,
Yep.
or trolling in the bay for rockfish. You don't have to be this expert topwater fisherman to get into the snakehead game. I think it's important for a lot of people to understand.
Actually, there is something I want to say on topwater fishing. Be patient.
Yeah.
That's something I learned the hard way. Lost a lot of fish,
Yes.
and then finally I was like, I saw the fish take it, and I sat there, and he held it in his mouth for like 10, 15 seconds. I mean, you got time.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly right. It's the same with the minnows. I mean, when you see that strike on your minnow, you don't want to set the hook immediately, or you're not going to hook into that snakehead.
Again, I always go back to the burp.
That's right.
You know, when I see the burp or I see the bubbles, I mean, even on like when I'm throwing swim baits and chatterbaits, I mean, when I'm cranking them through the water column and I feel that tap, I don't jerk that rod until I see the bubbles. You know, I mean, I'll still keep some pressure on it, but until I see that burp and them bubbles rise, then I'm giving it holy hell. You know what I mean?
That's exactly right.
What's your biggest number in a day?
Biggest number, probably 50 or 60. I did.
Yeah. That's a big day.
Was that a full day or just half a day or what?
Full day.
Full day.
And do you use bait, or do you topwater more? Or?
I'm normally throwing lures, and actually, I don't throw. I do throw topwater. I don't throw a lot of topwater. And, you call me ribbit. I like.
I was just getting ready to say, Damien, tell us what your favorite, because I always see it on your rod every time I talk to you. Damien, if you had one lure that you could use down here in Blackwater, what would it be? Here it comes.
Ribbit frog.
ribbit.
Easy enough.
And it's
Yeah,
amazing
like
because I fished the ribbit frog too, and I think our tactics are a little bit different. I like to keep my ribbit frog high, and I've sat out there and I've watched Damien. I don't want to give away your secrets, but what I watch Damien when he's using his frogs, a lot of times he'll go subsurface with them a little bit. And I've sat there and I've watched him go from struggling to figure that bite out and load his cooler up. You know what I mean? And I'm over there being hard-headed. You want to try a ribbit? Nah, Damien, I'm good. I'm going to try my Cod-Tech over here. It's going to happen for me. He's got 4 more. Hey, you want to try a ribbit yet? Nah, not yet, man. I'll try some soon. Let me tell you what. That day, the first day I saw him with the ribbit frogs, okay, and I used them, but I never used them like that, and I had them. When I watched him whack them out like that, I'll tell you what I did. What do you think I did?
Switch to a ribbit.
No, I went that night and bought me a bunch of ribbit frogs and didn't say anything. I went fishing the next day and caught a lot of fish. So you don't be me. Be humble enough to accept a little help if you're struggling out there.
As far as topwater, what's probably you said before, be patient, but what's probably the biggest tip that you could give somebody who's topwater fishing?
Biggest tip for topwater fishing. Actually, yeah, the patience is the biggest tip I can think of.
So, why don't you give us a quick rundown of what gear you personally use? What when you go out snakehead fishing, what rod are you using? What reel are you using? What's your tackle box look like?
At this point, almost all my rods are made by Denton Rod and Tackle.
Okay.
And I'm using mostly loose reels.
Mm-hmm.
So 30 pound braid and
What kind of braid?
oh god, I switched and I can't remember now. I was using Power Pro, but I switcched to I can't think of it.
It works. That's all that matters.
That's right.
I know the box when I see it.
So what are some of your other go-to lures when you're out fishing? If that ribbit's not working for you?
If we looked in your box, what would we say?
Chatterbaits.
You can mention brands that you like. If there's something you like, you can say that.
Yeah, you'll see Blackwater bait conies, chatterbaits in there. You'll see a lot of stuff from custom made from Denton Rod and Tackle. Let's see.
You get any live target stuff?
I
Frogs,
got
that kind of stuff.
I got a little bit of it, but I use the scum frogs the most when I'm throwing.
Oh yeah, you like the scum frog.
The scum frogs and the tackle frogs.
Huh. How about that? That's Cornflower's frog. He loves the scum frog.
He likes anything. Well, he likes 99-cent frogs, but he'll step up to the plate and spend the $3.99 on a snag or on a scum frog, you know. But he has a hard time getting up to $7.99 or $8 for a lunker hunt frog. So,
So what kind of kayak do you have? As far as your other gear go?
Which one?
okay, so for your personal vessel, what is your go-to for your kayak?
Okay, right now my go-to vessel is the Bonafide SS 127. I'm waiting on one to come in. It's a Vibe Shearwater. It's going to be a pedal drive, and
It'll be nice.
Yeah, Chris told us about that.
Yeah. He was talking when he was here on the podcast. He was describing them. They sound really nice.
I also have a couple more Bonafides coming in for the guides.
So these are for your clients. So
Yes.
your clients' vessel that you're going to let them use is what?
Bonafide.
Bonafide. And these vessels are very stable.
Yes.
I mean, so we want to tell the customer that's coming to you that it's safe. I mean, can you stand up on these things?
Yes, and I also have PFDs for everybody as well.
Good. What about a whistle? You got a whistle?
Actually, yes.
So we talked about the boat. We've talked about your rods. Bait-wise with your clients.
I always carry bait as a backup because
That's what I was gonna ask.
some days are tough.
Yep. Oh yeah. When that topwater bite is not working, you've got to be able to throw the minnow because you have to be humble enough to be like, that's just not gonna happen today. Yeah, it's not gonna happen. We're gonna go to the live bait and we got to make it happen.
With your clients, what's you and your group as a whole, what's the most you think you've harvested in a day with, like, say 2 or 3 guys plus yourself?
Well, I usually don't fish when I go out with the clients.
Okay. So that's very good to know.
Yeah. I think the most. I'm trying to think back. I mean, it hasn't been an awful lot. It's probably somewhere between 8 to 10 mark. And
So you haven't broken 100 with the group out there yet?
no.
Okay. So we need to get you some special snakehead destroyers this year for
That's
you and
right.
your buddies. Okay. So you've been fishing a long time. You fished our tournaments this year. We've got the festival coming up this year. You're going to be there. I know it's you guys are going to have a little kind of party going on in your little section because it's going to be you, Denton Rod, BigBassUSA.com, Addiction Baits. Is there anybody else in there missing?
There's one more in that group.
Lowland, Denton. Oh, I'm missing Lowland. That's what I'm missing.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm missing Damien.
Damien, Chris Leslie, Big Bass USA, Denton Rod and Tackle, Daryl, and
Addiction Baits.
there's one more. Who else is in that group?
I thought that was it.
Maybe it is.
I
Maybe
think
it
it's
is.
just a 4.
Okay.
It's just the 4. If there's any more than that, it'll be a surprise. So we've got the
A
festival.
mystery guest.
Yeah.
We've got the festival coming up on April 4th, and we're gonna have you, Damien, doing some seminars on the stage with Chris Leslie from BigBassUSA.com. So the people can look forward to coming to the festival. They can meet with you. They can talk about your business and what you do. You can talk about getting them signed up. You know, that kind of stuff.
Looking for a trip.
Yep. You fished our tournaments last year. I'm pretty sure you're going to fish our tournaments this year. And we were talking here a little bit earlier today. We think we've got 2 dates nailed down
Yes.
so far. So do we want to drop the
We can
Drop the bomb on
we
that?
can drop that.
Okay, so Eddie, tell them about the first tournament date that we're going to have in May.
So the first tournament in our series of 6 this year is going to be May 16th right here in Dorchester County. It's going to be pretty much close to the same rules. We're going to change up a little bit of stuff here, but we'll announce all the details in the next couple of days. But you can mark your calendar now. It's going to be May 16th for the first Dorchester County tournament, Snakehead tournament this year for us.
And I guess we're gonna go with the Channel Out Champion Trail again.
Might change it.
Might change
We'll
the
see.
name,
We'll
maybe
see.
do something different this year. Okay, so the second tournament that we're talking about, and I've reached out to Mr. Roy Board up there at Westside Snicks, and he's going to host on the 20th of June is when we're going to do it. I'm going to reach out to Phil up at Flying Point Park or Flying Point Marina this week and talk about using that as our weigh-in place. And
But that would be part of our trail this year.
yes, that'll be part of the trail. Like Eddie said, we're gonna do 6 tournaments total. So right now, the first tournament's gonna be here. Second tournament's gonna be on the Bush River,
And that'll be June the 20th.
June the 20th, and then we're looking for a July, an August, and a September location. So we have 3 months after June that are available at this point if an organization or a club out there wants to get involved and host one of the tournaments around the bay for us. If not, we'll do it ourselves, no big deal.
And not so much for us, but with us.
Yeah, with us. That's what I mean, with us.
It's a collaborative tournament.
Yeah, we're doing this together to raise funds for your organization, you know, and to spread education and to have the tournament and to draw the crowd and to raise awareness. You
exactly,
know?
yep.
So have some fun.
Oh, yeah. So June we'll have our second tournament, and then July, August, September we'll have – these will be all tournaments, and then in October we will have our Classic, which will be a compilation of winners from the 5 tournaments around the Bay that will come to Dorchester County and compete for that Classic prize. So in the competition of that Classic prize, we're going to have the point system back in place, correct?
100%. We're going back to the point system. So I'm not sure exactly how many anglers are going to be invited to the October Classic, but basically it's probably going to boil down to anybody who has a chance of winning the Angler of the Year prize. Who, realistically, is what we're looking at. But so, yeah, the 6th tournament is going to be an invite-only tournament. The first 5 are all going to be opens as far as –
these are one-day tournaments. We're not doing 2 days.
That's right. So we're cutting the scale back. We got a lot of feedback from everybody last year.
And we listened.
And we're doing our best to accommodate as many people as possible. So we're going to scale it back to a one-day tournament for each tournament, and then we're going to do one per month. And then basically, I don't know if we might just do the top 10 standings. We're still in discussion on that.
Well, that's kind of what I was thinking. Either the top 5 or top 10 from each of the 5 tournaments with the highest point standings. They go into the Classic to compete for the Angler of the Year.
How close the points are, too.
Exactly, yeah. So, but however we decide that is those anglers will be invited to that last tournament, and I'm sure that our friend Damien here, he's probably going to be in that mix for Angler of the Year.
He's a threat. Everybody knows he's a threat.
He's definitely a threat. Wayne, you better watch out, buddy. They're coming for you.
he's a contender.
It's going to get nasty on the grounds this year, folks. Now, but so we had the tournament, and if you're interested in sponsoring one of our tournaments, you know, we're looking for corporate sponsors for all these areas. I will be up in Edgewood and in Hartford County over the course of next month, reaching out to businesses there that may want to get involved in Cecil County and anywhere up in that area. So, you know, we're going to really make a project out of this, and we're going to make it fun for everybody. The prizes are going to be great. As far as our scale structure, our payout, we've discussed we'll do an 80-20. The 20 we will split with our co-host, whoever the co-host is for that tournament. So, again, if you're up there, we've got July, August, September, anywhere around the Bay. I'm looking to go in the next 3, like, let's say, Gunpowder, you know, work our way around the Bay. So, start here in Dorchester County, come up to Edgewood, move our way over to, say, Severn, Magathie, something, down to Patuxent, down to Potomac. So just to give you an idea of what we're thinking there, any help or input that you guys have out there, you know, we certainly want some of that because we want to make it convenient for everybody. And the biggest thing we learned last year, Eddie and Gary, and we both know this, is the biggest complaint was 2 days.
That's right.
The biggest complaint was having to drive back and forth. So we're hoping this eliminates some of the stuff you may not have been so happy with, and we're going to make it more attractive this year altogether and
that's
all around.
always the goal, to be more attractive.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What are you trying to say? I'm ugly?
Look at 3 of us. It's kind of hard to picture more attractive. Yeah.
Or maybe you just forget about me and work on you two. Okay, I'm good enough. No, I'm just kidding.
So,
I told you you'd like it here, Damien. We have fun.
So, Damien, what's your favorite fish story as far as snakeheads so far? What's your most exciting snakehead story that you can tell people?
Oh, there's quite a few. Well, one of the funniest is, all right, I was fishing one of the amped up tournaments, and Fletcher and I were fishing right next to each other, and all I needed was a bigger snakehead. So I hooked into a big one and lost it. And Fletcher was probably about, I don't know, 50 yards away from me. So I sat there. Again, I sat there just throwing. I hook into this fish again, and and he gets off halfway to the boat. Fletcher's coming behind. He's like, "You lost him again." Like,
So did you get a third opportunity or no?
No, I did not.
Oh, he was rubbing it in, wasn't
Oh, yeah.
Let me ask you this. How many times have you flipped over?
Flipped over? This year? None.
he? This year.
I always like to ask guys that in kayaks because usually it's like,
Oh, you're
I don't
past the
want to answer
learning
that
curve.
question, man. You know, so.
Well, what we actually used to do, there was a ponds back in Trap. The gravel pit we used to go fish at. Well, there's sand dunes. We take the kayaks up to the top of that and ride them down into the pond.
That's like the guys. Did you see the one I put with the guys on the ski slope and the kayaks slaloming down
snowboarding the sand sand dunes and stuff.
I don't have much in the way of one more.
It's a little bit of a quick show this week.
What time is it now?
We're 35 minutes in.
Well, you said you went today for a little while, didn't you?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Where'd you
Tell
go?
them what you caught.
I caught a carp on a little underspin, just a little ultralight underspin to Mr. Twister.
We were over there at 3:35 a couple weeks ago. Me and Wayne and Big Wayne, and we were catching carp on minnows. There was so many carp over there.
No doubt in my mind.
We were just catching them on minnows.
Yeah, sometimes I'm stubborn. I want that lower bite.
As far as Dorchester County, have you been outside of Dorchester, Snakehead, and anywhere looking around?
I have a little bit. I know where they are around here, so it kind of draws me back in.
So where have you traveled to looking?
The spillway below Smithville.
Did you find any there?
I did.
Okay.
And what was that one? Tuckahoe Creek. And I did not find any that day. I couldn't even find a bass that day. It was horrible.
Rough day.
So back to Smithville real quick. I know I was having a discussion about that, I don't know, about 6 months ago on Facebook about Smithville and what I had found at the spillway and what I'd caught in the lake. And, had a couple of gentlemen that had jumped on Facebook real quick and said, I fished there, they're not there, you're lying. So I'm glad that you stepped up and you said that, because I had already reached back out to them and said they are there and sent the pictures, you know what I'm saying? Where else? Have you gone anywhere like the west side, up north, Susquehanna? You been up there at all?
Nope, I haven't fished over there at all.
So Tuckahoe and Smithville,
Smithville.
there's only two places you've really gone and looked?
Yep.
Do you think in Marshy Hope?
I have not messed with Marshy Hope.
You haven't fished in there at all. So pretty much you're pretty much exclusively doing all your guiding over here on this side.
Yeah, and I'm going to spots that I grew up with.
Right, that's you know where the snakeheads are, so you're not leaving as little as possible to chance.
Yeah.
So Damien, let's talk about what we've seen here over the last year, because a lot of people, they want to talk about trash, they want to talk about traffic, they want to talk about the crowd that's coming here. Do you agree with us that the campaign that we put together last year, the pitch in, stop bitching campaign, made a difference out there?
Yes, it definitely did.
And what have you seen through the year after that? It stayed pretty clean all year.
Yes.
There's been only a handful of times that I've seen where somebody's put a picture up about the trash. So, I think that's one of the good things, and I know that you instill that in your clients. You make it a point to let them know about the refuge and how important it is to us and how it is, we need to keep our stuff cleaned up and stay proactive so we're not leaving trash and we don't get ourselves shut down, right?
Yes.
So that's good. Kids. Do you take kids out fishing in the kayaks?
Yes,
Okay.
as long as they have a guardian with them.
Okay. So as far as the age group that you are comfortable without any guardian is what? 18 or 16?
18.
18. So anybody under 18 years of age, has to have a parent or guardian with them.
Yes.
If the parent or guardian is not with them, do you have a release that they can sign or anything like that, or no?
I don't, but maybe I should look into it.
No, I was just thinking, maybe the kid didn't want their dad there or something. I didn't want my dad. I want to go by myself. You know what I'm saying? So,
but one of the groups I took out, actually the kid was 14 years old. He's one of the best fishermen I've ever had taken out.
That's
you're
awesome.
that kid, whoever you were, you made an impression.
I have when I'm guiding, I have a little laser for showing spots and everything where I want them to cast, because accuracy is pretty important.
Yes.
So I point the laser out. He'd hit it almost every time. Like
He hit your laser.
well, he hit where I'm pointing.
Huh,
Yeah.
That's good.
Presentation.
That's what we've said that since day one.
That's my one thing.
Presentation and accuracy is 95% of the game when it comes to snakeheads.
You can be at a 45-degree angle with your cast, nothing. You can go to a 90-degree angle with your cast, and every time it's there. Go back to your 45-degree angle cast, and you ain't got a thing going on,
That actually made me think of a good story now.
All right, let's hear it.
All right, so it was actually the video that my buddies did for me. It happened during this. He didn't get it on video, but my one buddy, Andrew, he had been sitting in this spot for probably about half an hour. All right. So I'm coming along. I was like, oh, I'm not going to get in front of you. He's like, no, I've been here for half an hour. There ain't nothing in there. I see a pocket back there. All right. Cast it back in there. Boom. 10-pounder slams it. And he's cussing at me. He's like, "You gotta be kidding me!"
That's awesome.
I've heard rumors around the county that you used to trade carp for cigarettes. Anything true to that story? I've heard.
Yeah, me and my brother would go catch carp and go trade them to the local store.
So it's a real story then.
Yeah.
Get the heck out of here, man.
We'll leave the name of the store
I
out.
might start smoking again if we can trade carp for cigarettes. Dang.
One thing we didn't talk about bow fishing. Do you bow fish?
No, I've done it with Wayne once. And that's about it.
Did you do any gigging last year with Dixon or any of them guys?
No. I'm thinking about taking up bow fishing though.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I've got a couple bows I've pulled out of the dust, and
I definitely want to try it as well. The problem is, I mean, we've said this before in this area. The water's just so dark. The water quality makes it so hard to do.
I've got some ideas though about some places that me and you ventured this
there's a couple
summer
places
where
you
it's
can still
clear,
do it.
and I think we could really go and do some stuff in some of these places
Yeah, there's
outside of Blackwater.
There's definitely a few places. I mean, like you said, not in Blackwater,
Right.
but there's still in Blackwater. There's one or two spots where you might be able to get away with it, but it's tough to do.
I'm like you. I've got some ideas about it. I think you might be able to snag up
Ready-
on
ready
it.
to
you know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking that a bow fishing tournament's in the future.
Just by itself,
Yeah,
we can
Why
look into
not?
that.
I mean we got guys that are coming over here now that
Well,
are
still
guys.
category, right?
Yeah, we'll still have it as a category by itself.
Yeah. I mean, like we'll do that in the Calcuttas, but I'm thinking if we had enough response and
Right.
enough people that were willing to make the trek over here for a night tournament or something. I mean, when Chad and them guys did them down there, it was a lot of fun. Them
Well, I
guys,
think
it was
when
like an all night long party, man. Cooking, music, cutting up.
When we roll over the bridge, I think you're going to see a lot more people in
Oh
the
my
boat
goodness,
category.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Be a big
It's
difference.
it's gonna be a huge difference when we get on the western shore for that.
Yeah.
Because like we've always said, it's the water quality here just makes it really tough.
Have you ever done any other kind of outside fishing, ocean fishing? Is there any fishing trip you've had in your life that sticks out in your mind that you remember? It doesn't have to be snakeheads, doesn't have to be bass, whatever. Just is there one story in your mind you went somewhere and you just got that memory sitting there?
Oh well, I was actually it was my 16th birthday or not birthday party, but 16th birthday. My mom actually drove me down to Dewbridge to go fishing, and there was actually a reporter there, and he's a writer. Well, I caught a bass. I was all excited and everything, and he did a little write up on me. That sticks in my
cool.
head.
That was pretty cool.
I think, Damien, you're gonna have a lot of people writing stuff up about you in the future. I think a lot of us here that are on the front, we're gonna see a lot of us getting some exposure that.
We see who the stars are going to be in this game.
Yeah, and I hate to say it, but I mean, I don't hate to say it. I mean, it's deserved. It's deserved by the guys that have put the time into doing what they're doing. You know what I mean? And I know that people pay attention to you because I talk to a lot of guys that look at your page, that know you personally, and when I ask somebody, I say, hey, well, what do you think of that guy, Damien? Seriously, most people say this: he's a hell of a guy. I say, what do you mean he's a hell of a guy? Well, I mean, he's just kind. He's a good dude.
It's more important than being a hell of a fisherman.
It's the same way to tournaments. It's like when Wayne showed up, when you showed up, people were because a lot of people came just to see.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, there were a lot of people
And
that weren't
after
even
the
in
first
the tournament.
they knew who the big bangers were.
yeah.
That's right.
They were standing
You'd hear
when you
them
rolled up, and you're all looking.
That guy
who's
had him
got
the
bag.
last tournament. He's going to have him again.
Yeah,
Where's
what's
that guy?
Damien got in that bag this time?
And I think my favorite part was not knowing what was in the bag, and then
Oh,
seeing
yeah.
the bag get open and seeing that giant just get
Man,
pulled
when
out, whether it was him or whoever it was.
When he pulled, remember Charlotte's face when he pulled
Yeah.
that 12-pounder out of that
yeah,
bag?
yeah. As a matter of fact, we did a meme with that, didn't we? With her face back there. We love you, Charlotte.
Yeah, that was my favorite thing was got to handle every one of them,
That's right.
measure them all,
Yeah.
weigh them. That was cool.
Gary, you touched every fish in that.
Everyone. Yeah.
I did too.
It's pretty cool till you
But I
get
had to
about
get smacked a
130 somewhere along there. It kind of burns out a little bit.
I knew my thing was I wouldn't leave him in the tray long enough. I'd pull one out. Hey, put that back in anyway.
Gary was going to put him in the scale for me to get the weight, and Kaz, he's already picking it up
He's
before I
trying
can.
to punch him. He's trying to punch the tail.
What was the most that we had in a day come in, did we say?
For one person or all together?
No, all together in one day.
80 something.
Oh man!
Or what was the
goodness.
total for one tournament? Then we have like a
We
big
had
total.
5.
That's what I thought it was.
I think it was close to 500. Oh, I can't remember now.
It was a big number.
Not 500 one day. I think we had 500 for one weekend. I feel like
That's,
I
think that sounds about right.
I can't
Four, high fours or low fives. I think it was for the weekend.
It was a lot. So, Kaz, have you got any one more this time?
No, I guess so. Damien, when your clients don't want the fish, or let me ask you this, because a lot of people they approach me with this, and I don't care if you release them or you keep them. I care less. As you as the guide, are you operating under angler's choice? Is that
Yeah.
Okay.
Whatever they want to do, they want to let them go.
Good.
They can let them go. If they want them dead and they don't want them, I'll take them.
Okay, that's
I
my
got plenty of
question.
people that'll eat 'em.
If they wanted to help with our initiative and they wanted to keep the fish but didn't want to eat the fish, does Lowland Outfitters have an out for meat that might not be used? Like, do you have an organization anywhere near you, like a homeless shelter or anything like that you can donate to? Have you done any of that or not yet?
Not yet.
Okay, so that's something,
Yeah.
That was my one more. I was just thinking about
That's your
what they
one
do
more.
with any fish that the clients didn't want, because I was going to say if they didn't want them and the homeless shelter didn't want them, I'm always hungry and I would always take them. Yeah.
So before we sign off this week, I just want to give the dates one more time. We've got the Snakehead Festival is going to be April 4th at Salewinds. Our first tournament is going to be May 16th.
There are still some booths available for the festival too. So if you didn't get a booth, there's still some remaining. Get to us fast though. Sorry.
That's all right. So, yeah, April 4th is the Snakehead Festival. May 16th is going to be the first tournament of the year for us. That's going to be here in Dorchester County. June 20th on the west side on it's Bush River, right?
Bush River, yep.
Yep. So Bush River, that's going to be, and we'll be
Flying Point Marina. That's where we're gonna do it. And if we can't get that, then we'll go right out of Flying Point Park.
so
Or Otter Creek. I'll get the place. Don't worry about that.
So that's our first 3 dates, and we're going to be releasing the rest of the dates as soon as possible, as soon as we get all the details ironed out. But I think that about wraps up for this week. So for Damien, for Gary, for Kaz,
Ouch.
and myself, appreciate you guys watching, and we'll catch you next time.
Jerks.